Well, in typical form, this job kind of blew up on me. These boards, you'll notice, look really good. But when I realized I was going to do the sloping, and I started taking more stuff apart, that included the big header that went across these pillars or columns. So as soon as I was going to take that off and cut it down, rip it down, check out what I found out. I'm going to go up the ladder here. So these, as far as I could tell, were Roman columns, and you could tell that they were halves, but I thought that was more of like a, when they made the concrete form half, but they're really just a shell for looks. The actual structure was a 4x4, and the 4x4, as you can see, is gone. Then it goes to that bracket down there. Let me see if I can zoom in here. Got my really good light. So it's really tough to tell on this one. But there is a bracket that's set in concrete right there with all these little flaky wood chunks around it. And you notice that hole is the basically like the rock. So that 4x4 is totally shot. Let me show you what it looks like. And yeah, luckily after painted these yesterday and then it started raining, so all that paint's good. But let me show you the rotted 4x4. Just hammered. Totally junk. So it's a 4x4 with a couple 2x4s slapped onto it. Just wasted. It looks like this thing was practically sitting in water in there. So with all those totally shot, I had to make a new plan. I did. There's all the pieces that, ripping those 12-foot 4x, I think they're 8s, was a little rough. I had to go get a different saw. And yeah, it's been a mess. That header ended up being, that's what this board is. It's just, actually, sorry, it's that one. So this stuff is just hammered. So I borrowed the big boy, and then it started raining, so I threw it in the garage real quick. So those headers were rotted, so I had a friend with some 4x8s, and I wanted to rip 1.5 inches off the 4x8 to slope additionally. So luckily he had a couple 12-footers, so I cut these down about 130 inches, and then ripped 1 inch with the big saw. And I was so ready to put them back together, but I obviously can't. So this is what I learned about these. It's kind of like a concrete base, and then this shell is hollow, and then this is a little bit more of a structure. So there are several pieces, and my plan with it right now is I'm going to do like a few ratchet straps on this, maybe 3 ratchet straps. And then I'm going to take rebar and bend it at the bottom, try to get like a 90 out of the rebar and get the rebar all the way down into that hole where you could tell there's a footing, where there's basically a piece of metal like that one. That one's new. There's basically a piece of metal like that one that was set in concrete, and there's still some room there. I'm going to actually shove the rebar down under the rock, probably like, 2 or 4 rebars per column, and then fill this thing totally solid with concrete. So obviously my project is delayed. What I've done temporarily is I've left these boards up here to hold the grapevine good, and you can imagine it's going to be a fair amount of material. Let's take a look in this one. This one might be able to see a little bit better, but this is going to be 8 feet. Just over 8 feet, totally full down there. You'll see this one's gonna be the same as that other one was. Tough to get it to focus, but this is gonna rebar all into there, concrete it all the way to the top, and then I'm actually gonna set that metal bracket in the concrete. Probably put a bolt in it anyway, just so it's really hooked in the concrete good, and then bring the concrete up to this level and then maybe even slope it up a little, so if any water sits on there again, it does have more of a tendency to run off. But this was a bad design. The water would sit here, it would creep in, and for all I could tell, this thing was at some points probably partially full of water, especially we had a really wild winter. So I got that bracket. It's, I guess I shouldn't say it's new, it's used. It's going to be new to this project though. So that bracket will sit, those two arms will sit in there with a bolt through it. That'll all be embedded in the concrete, and then the concrete will come right up to the bottom, and then the now what's a 4x6, but it's like, I think it's actually 7. It's a 4x7 I cut it to. So this dimension is a 4x. So I'll go through there. I got those from a friend. I need one more for this one that's going to be like a little wider, so I could tie in 2 of the 4x7s right there. So probably going to push this job out another week, but it'll be sweet when it's done. And then for now, I'll come through and I'm going to clean all this stuff up. Paint from here up, the white stucco paint that I have. Paint the brown, get it nice. Paint down the stucco paint. And then all those boards are pre-painted, so I'll be able to start loading them right up there. And so that's where I'm at for right now. I may just go over and take one more look at these big 4x8s that are ripped over there in the shop. Forgot to show you those. Well, I could show you this. This is where, these are the cutting pieces of what I took off to give them the slope. So you see they start big and they go all the way tapered to nothing. So that's all the junk from cutting them off. And then the blocking, I think I'm just going to eliminate. The blocking did kind of look cool. If I wanted, I would cut 1.5 inches off the blocking, beat the nails out, and I could reuse it. They were actually more solid than pretty much everything else, but probably just going to eliminate them. I like the open air look. Like this one right here. So that used to be blocking up there. And now it just looks, I just feel like it looks cooler without the blocking in there. And in the interest of saving money, probably what I'll do is rather than buy concrete bags, you can see I got the mixer right there, which needs to be fixed before I can run it, but I'll fix it. I may get sand and gravel dropped like in bulk, like maybe a few yards of each, and then buy the Portland cement and then mix it up in a ratio in that mixer and make my own concrete rather than the Quickcrete. So that'll be a savings right there. Let's go check out these boards. So here's how these are turning out. All ripped and painted. Looking good. Between those and these, everything will be pre-painted. And then I'm on hold until the concrete work happens. Then it's gotta dry.